343 revealed information about Halo Infinite's multiplayer, and there's a lot to unpack. So I've scrubbed through the multiplayer overview, and we'll break it down. Let's get into this. As you may know, Halo is free to play, and is free to play on both console and PC. And just like the Master Chief Collection, your progression carries over from one platform to the next. So you won't have to worry about which platform you play on. You play on PC, cool, but you end up getting a Series S or X, it's fine. Progression's going to carry over, no problem. Arena is back in the way Halo 5 presented it, but 343 is specifically focused on making Arena fair for everyone. That's the way they worded it. They mentioned having fair and balanced starts so everyone isn't equal as soon as the match begins, and then it becomes about treasure hunting for and fighting over guns and equipment you want to use. Now, Halo hasn't particularly struggled with how we start matches. There's always been AR starts, BR starts, and whatnot, but when I hear them talking about scavenging for equipment, that tells me that they're focused on not just how we start the match, but what weapons are on the map and where they're on the map. And I'm glad they're thinking about the nuances of that. Now, equipment makes a return, and in 343's words, equipment has a bigger voice than ever before. That sounds kind of scary, doesn't it? Like when Halo 3 had equipment added, that was kind of a jump for many of us. But it ended up feeling fine because it didn't feel like it impeded the experience too much, you know? That doesn't sound like the case for Halo Infinite, but what 343 is looking to do for equipment is give it more tactical impact. So, do you go for a power weapon, or do you go for the grapple hook that allows you to quickly rotate around the map to give you an advantageous position, right? In Halo 3, do you go for a shield drain, or do you go for a rocket launcher? Like, you always go for the rocket launcher. Like, that's the way to go, because, you know, something like the shield drain just didn't last long enough, or, you know, there's some tactical advantage there, but the amount of value you get from the rocket launcher is greater. And it looks like 343 is trying to increase the value of equipment in ways that are fair. Also, total side note, but I was wondering if the grapple hook could attach to Spartans. Confirmed footage.
Dance floors, they're available to have that combat in.
So let's say you're in a situation where perhaps you get both the grapple hook and a power weapon. How can both of those combine to create an advantage? There are a lot of examples of using the grapple hook. We see the grapple hook retrieving a gravity hammer and hooking a camo or overshield pickup, and just like we just saw, you could attach it to a Spartan. But how the other pieces of equipment like the wall shield can be used tactically are something we'll figure out as we learn their specific traits. But I could confidently say that 343 is being very thoughtful in their implementation of the equipment and their intensity. I like what I see. But 343 is also looking at when we use equipment. In Halo 3, when we picked up the bubble shield, the shield drain, or the jump pad, it went into the inventory. But in every Halo game, when we walked into the camo or overshield, we automatically used it, minus Halo 5, where you had to trigger it yourself. Now, we could put camo and overshield in our inventory. And if we die with it in our inventory, it drops for somebody else to pick up. Now, at first, I'm thinking, well, of course, we're just going to activate it. Like, why would we wait to activate camo or overshield? There's no need to wait. Well, of course, if you're in the middle of a firefight and your shield is low, you can hide for a moment, then turn on the overshield and return to the fight a lot more tankier. Or maybe you want to save your camo when you realize you're about to engage into 2-on-1, but you have the power weapon. So instead of walking into the fight completely visible, you could crouch in and surprise your opponent at the moment you want to engage. Activating camo and overshield when you want is a small change, but I think it's going to have a big impact. What we need to find out is if you can hold only one piece of equipment, or can you hold, say, an overshield and a grapple hook? Because being able to hold two kinds of equipment would open up all kinds of tactical possibilities, especially if you're going up against someone who has a power weapon when you don't. And I think that's what 343 is looking to do with the balance of equipment and power weapons. They obviously want to give advantage to the power weapon user, like that's something that can't change, but they also want equipment to be good enough to where a good user of the equipment can nearly nullify a power weapon user. And so on a macro level, the entire match is about fighting over all kinds of power weapons and equipment, trying to gain the biggest advantage over the opponent, right? Now that perhaps can lead to enormous snowballs, especially if somebody's controlling all the power weapons and all the equipment. But We still have to see, like, in terms of how often something can be used. Lots of questions still about that. Warthogs have always been rather durable, wouldn't you say? No matter how many grenades and rocket splash damage hit Warthogs take, they just keep on moving normally. Apparently, that's not the case anymore. You can knock the wheels off vehicles, and that changes how vehicles drive. Blowing the hood off a vehicle will change how it runs. 343 also added what they call a Doomsday Mechanic. The vehicle glows red and catches fire, and you either get out the vehicle before it explodes, or you go down with it. Now that honestly feels just like a more communicated version of what previous games have done. You know, when you saw a Warthog on fire, it's pretty much time to get out, because it was only a matter of time before a few more bullets or one more grenade would blow the whole thing up. But now, with the Doomsday Mechanic, the vehicle's just going to explode on its own. But I also imagine if you do put enough damage on it, you could probably blow it up before the Doomsday Mechanic blows up the Warthog. Now, I have to say that one of the toughest aspects of Warthog usage in the past was how dominant a team could be by using a vehicle. Obviously, they could be considered a power weapon, and so you wanted to control them, but no matter how much damage you did to a Warthog, you either had to blow the whole thing up, which was a problem if you didn't have a power weapon or sticky grenades, or you had to shoot the opponents out of them. Now, players can be punished for driving recklessly and allowing the Warthog or whatever vehicle to take too much damage. You could still ride in it, but now it's going to be harder to control, which will likely make it harder to aim, and that seems like a fair trade-off. I'm curious to know how Covenant vehicles change as you do damage to them. Can you shoot out its boosters so they can't boost around and run people over in the Ghost? Can you disable Banshee barrels? I'm looking forward to the possibilities here. 343 is also adding a new vehicle called the Razorback. They specifically highlighted this one. They call it the Warthog's cousin. The highlight? It can store power weapons. It can store detached turrets, fusion coils, and it can even store objectives. Like, you could put it on the Razorback and drive it around. Based on the footage 343 showed, it seems like it's a passenger-only vehicle, which would make sense given the capability to, transport strong equipment. But it looks like it could carry 4 passengers. But now you understand why popping the tires on a vehicle could be so important. You see why they added it now. Now, a lot of changes are coming to Big Team Battle that add to the chaos we've known the mode to have in the past. Here's something about vehicles since we're on that subject. They don't just spawn at the bases anymore. They'll spawn at the bases, but now Pelicans will drop vehicles around the map. Now, if you didn't see, 343 emphasized to other media that this is not a kill streak perk or anything like that. It's just part of the chaos 343 is trying to create during a match. It's part of the map function. What I want to know is if Pelicans are dropping off Wraiths and other Covenant vehicles. That'd be fascinating. Weapons will also resupply with drop pods, which they mentioned Halo 2 when all I'm reminded of is Halo 4. That's what it feels like. Even the sound effects sounded like Halo 4. But this is just part of the map design. It doesn't seem like players do anything to trigger these respawns. Oh, and if you didn't hear the news, Big Team Battle is increasing to 12 players, hence why they're making some of these changes. More players means there needs to be more stuff to play with. 343 is also adding a lot of customization options, and I think the biggest and maybe a controversial one is everyone gets their own personal AI which acts like their announcer. Now, if those replace Jeff Steitzer, which it sounds like it does when we're picking up a flag, I feel like that's a problem. As obnoxious as it was at times, hearing him say flag taken, flag dropped, or his other in-game announcements, that would be a bummer not be able to hear that anymore. Like, I would miss that. Obviously, based on the reveal during the Microsoft conference, we're still going to hear him say his kill lines, but replacing Jeff Steitzer will feel weird. With that said, I actually like the concept a lot. Like, each Spartan kind of having their own AI voice is a fun little quirk. I wonder if there will be a way other people will hear your AI at times so we can share our voices. But it's fine if not. I'm okay with it. I do like the idea, though. I imagine they're going to have some rare, epic, and legendary type voices, and some will come with more personality the rarer the AI voice is. I imagine. I don't know if that's true, but maybe. Spartan Customization is going to a new level also. You'll be able to customize all the typical armor pieces and variants we've come to know through Master Chief Collection and Halo 5, but now you'll be able to edit down to the specific parts themselves. But you can go further than that. You could change your Spartan's voice, body type, and they're also including prosthetics. You'll also be able to customize weapon looks and vehicle looks. Now, I want to know what determines what vehicle skin ends up on the map, which that wasn't mentioned, but I'm curious to know how that works. You'll also be able to do all the customization on waypoint.com and the Waypoint app while you're not playing the game. So that's kind of nice. Now, based on what we've seen, based on this overview, Spartan Customization has been looking kind of bulky and kind of all over the place in the past. And at least from what they've showed in the footage, I like where they're going with it. Now, of course, yes, they're going to show the best stuff, but it feels like they have a vision for Spartan design in Halo Infinite, and it looks like everything does revolve around that, not trying to recreate old pieces or shoehorn past armor styles in ways that don't fit the Halo Infinite aesthetic. So I'm looking forward to this. So now let's talk about Battle Pass. There is one, as unfortunate as you might find it, and this is where you're going to unlock some of those customizations. Now, I was hoping they would keep the Battle Pass free like the Master Chief Collection, but I think what they came up with could be the best version of a paid Battle Pass in any game so far. What they've incorporated from the Master Chief Collection Battle Pass is your ability to unlock anything from any season. So for Halo Infinite, if you buy a Battle Pass for that season, you can still unlock everything after that season is over. It doesn't go away. And each season, there will be themes which will have items to earn based on that theme. And they also mention new gameplay, which I think that amounts to specific game modes related to a theme. Don't have that confirmed, though. This is a game-changing implementation because people who feel like they want to constantly earn something but don't have all the time in the world to play, or feel like they're going to lose the potential of what they paid for, they'll have nothing to worry about. There will be plenty of progression, and you don't have to worry about grinding it all before the season ends. So you do end up getting what you paid for. This is the compromise many of us have wanted for a Battle Pass. If we didn't know what it looked like, I think this is it. Microsoft is trying to create a live service within Halo that gives us something worth paying for, but doesn't have to rely on FOMO. You want the stuff? Cool, buy it. Have your sense of progression, and you'll never lose what you paid for because we got your money anyway. Like, that's what Microsoft is thinking. Like, you paid for it. We got your money. Why does it need to go away? What's more is that once Halo Infinite has hit 2 or more seasons, you could actually buy the old battle passes. You don't even have to buy the new one. But if you decide to buy an old one and the current one, or maybe you didn't finish the old one when you bought the current one, you can choose which battle pass you want to put your progression towards. Now, it does sound like there will be a store based on these words. And so, like he said, people will not be able to buy items that are in the Battle Pass through the store. If it's in the Battle Pass, everyone has to progress to earn that item in the Battle Pass. No one's getting the item any other way. They also mentioned a lot of what they offer is earned by playing the game and only through playing the game. That means you can't earn it in the Battle Pass and you can't buy it in the store. Of course, I wonder how cool the stuff you earn in game is in comparison to anything you pay into. We'll find that out. Lastly, Halo Infinite will have an area that you can train. And before I get too far into this, does this woman kind of sound like Sergeant Johnson?
Why are you here?
She kind of has this cadence, right? I'm probably totally off, but I just had to throw that out there. I feel like there's a little resemblance. Anyway, 343 is calling this area or mode the Academy. And that's where you can basically learn the game and get better or warm up. They'll have a training facility, which lets you get used to the weapons and aiming, and you'll be able to fight bots. Now, I'm all about this because I'm astounded by the amount of people who play the game and have zero idea what they're doing. I'm okay with people not knowing the maps and, they aren't the best at aiming. I'm fine with that. It happens. Like, everybody has to start somewhere. But some people who play the Master Chief Collection look absolutely clueless. This mode can help them. The Academy can help them. And I hope 343 encourages players with in-game prompts to go in there and play around and get some confidence. Now, I'm concerned about how difficult the bots will be, as I don't know if they're going to challenge up-and-coming players enough, but 343 says there's going to be a variety of difficulties. So I'm going to trust them on this one. So that is all the information and analysis I could glean out of this overview. If you found this helpful, please tap that thumbs up button and subscribe, because Halo is in my top 5 franchises all time, and I will be playing this game a lot, and I'm going to be keeping my eye out for more news and tidbits and hoping to contribute to the community in helpful ways. My name is Anthony Shelton. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you later.